What's going on, people, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm back at Hamworthy Car Centre, and today I'm going to be reviewing a Land Rover Discovery. Now, for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll notice that I am probably a bit out of my comfort zone just recently because I'm doing more and more Land Rover and Range Rovers and less VWs, Audis and that sort of thing. And that is because since working with Michael at Hamworthy Car Centre, I've got this newfound love for Land Rovers and Range Rovers. The more I seem to drive them, the more I seem to love them. One of the few vehicles I've not driven yet is this new shape Discovery. I've driven the old one and I've driven lots of the new Range Rover style vehicles, the Vogue, Evoque and Velour, but I've not driven one of these yet, and these are the ones that are probably the most appealing to me in terms of which one would I prefer to own as a private vehicle. And that's because I see these as a bit more of an agricultural type of vehicle. And of course it's not a van and it's not a tractor, that's not what I'm getting at. I just feel like the foundation of this comes more from someone using it as a utility, whereas the Velour, the Vogue and the Evoque, they're more cars for people to use as cars, whereas I feel like the base design of this, the Discovery, and certainly the older Discoveries, they are tools, they're utility tools. So it's going to be interesting to see what the inside of these is like, and also what they're like to drive, and what I think they're going to be like to drive on a day-to-day basis, or indeed if you did want to use one as a daily driver and your only vehicle. So initially when I get into this, it does strike me as a right in between of the standard of the Evoque's interior to the standard of the Vogue's interior. It seems to have a bit of mix and match of them both. I don't think this has got a mix and match of cheap materials for the sole reason that it's saving money. I feel like some of the cheaper materials are used on this because they are harder wearing than some of the more premium materials. So you do have a little bit of a mix of quality in here. So you seem to have a leather glove box, and this panel of the dashboard is leather, and then the upper is some sort of plastic foam hybrid material. I'm not quite sure what material it is, but it's definitely harder wearing than leather, but it's nowhere near as appealing to the eye as leather either. That being said though, all the door cards are very spongy as the Vogue, and that is a premium vehicle. And if you've not watched that video, I do suggest you go and watch it, because these are in a very similar price point. So yes, this has got the 7 seats, but they are a very similar price. So unless your only sole reason for looking at these is because it's got 7 seats, then that video might interest you as well. You do have an upper and lower glove box in here as well. The upper is operated by a button, and you can access the upper glove box just there. It's got a cigarette lighter inside, and the lower is operated traditionally just by a lever. And again, we've got this stark contrast of like plasticky material that again is there simply because it's hard wearing. In the center console, we have a selection of buttons that assist with off-road driving, whether that be low ratio, raising the ride height, lowering the ride height. You can adjust it just here. We've got another cigarette lighter just underneath here, so there's no shortage of cigarette lighters in the front. And we do have the nice new style infotainment system, as well as the digital dials for your heater controls, which I absolutely love. And I do, when I take a look at the Evoque, I do really miss that attribute. These are really nice. On one of my other videos, I did see someone commenting saying that they've had issues with theirs, which was a concern of mine when I first saw these, because there's a lot of screens and a lot of computer wizardry going on here that could potentially go wrong for a company that's not always been known for their reliability. But for the most part, from what I've seen, they seem to be okay. So you've got a nice big screen in the middle here, and one of the nice things I find is that there's a button here. It says open on it, and that drops this full panel down, and that is such a nice thing. And I guess it's the little things that please us, but that, to have a little storage area behind there, is very nice. I'm really loving the dark wood trim. It's like a matte wood on the side here. I'm a big fan of that, and if I were to get one of these, that'd be one of the things I'd be looking for as far as the styling's concerned. So because this is a HSE model, we've got a panoramic roof on top. We can open and close that. It will fully open to let air in, unlike the Velour. And you can also close a blind on it, so you can have it fully dark in here or fully light, depending on what sort of mood you're in. When you lift the center console up here, we do have a storage area and a fold-up flap. In this one, we don't have a fridge. However, I'm almost certain that you will get a fridge as an optional extra in this, because that is a very similar shape to the Vogue. And if they're not offering a fridge with this, they're missing a trick. We also have a SIM card adapter, we have 2 USB ports and a HDMI port and a 12-volt cigarette lighter. So again, that's the third 12-volt cigarette lighter that we have access to at the front here. The seats are controlled by a plethora of buttons. We can move the seats in all sorts of positions, and we also have some fold-down armrests just in the middle here with rollers on the end to adjust the height. I'm not entirely sure why these exist, because there's a massive armrest in the middle, but it's a nice to have. You can't have too many armrests, can you? But you can have not enough. So in this car, you've got more than enough armrests. So moving up to the roof then, we've got a little sunglasser holder. We've got 2 visors that come down that on the face of it appear to have no lights, but when you slide them open, the lights are integrated into the mirrors, which is quite a nice touch. So sat in the back here, there's absolutely loads of space. Too much space, if anything. You've got 3 seats, 2 of the 3 have Isofix. We've also got an armrest built in here with 2 cup holders. We've got 2 USB sockets here, hidden behind what looks to be a cigarette lighter, but it is indeed USB sockets. The seats are heated. We've also got 2 storage areas on the back of each seat. More than enough leg room for a full-size male. Weirdly, the panoramic roof is split in the middle here. The panoramic roof does not continue right the way through. So we've got a rear roof and a front roof. I guess that is not a panoramic roof in my opinion. That is 2 sunroofs. But we can argue that in the comments down below. I'm sure YouTube police will let me know that that is indeed a panoramic roof. We've got Isofix, and the Isofix on these seats are far better than any other Isofix in any other Land Rover, Range Rover. So if you are interested in getting one of these as a family vehicle, this is already winning for me. The Isofix are on a flap, it just flaps up and you've got easy access to them. You're trying to put an Isofix in a Vogue and you're going to feel the pain, trust me. They're very similar layout to my BMW X6 and it's not good, it's not nice. Also, we do have top tether on the back of these seats, and also we have top tether on the front seat as well if you did want to put another child seat into there. These seats are a 3-way split, so you can have whichever seat you want down. If you want to have some skis going through, or you want to put 2 down to put a bit of furniture in, it can be used very much, like I said at the beginning of the video, as a utility vehicle. There's very little to no transmission tunnel here. Of course, it's quite a high vehicle, so all the gubbins are underneath and not obstructing the main chassis of the vehicle. There's also some very nice plastic mats, again, aiming for that agricultural and utility vehicle. It's plastic mats, plasticky trim around the edges, but it doesn't feel cheap. Sometimes I get in a vehicle, and I'll keep referring back to it, the Q2, I got in that vehicle and it felt cheap. It felt like a piece of crap. It felt like it had been made on a budget just to try and churn some more vehicles out to fill a gap between the A1 and the Q3. Whereas this, it definitely doesn't feel like that. It feels like it's made to a purpose. The plastic on here, although it obviously is a cheaper material, it feels like it's there for a purpose. We've got vents in the back here, and that's weird because the Vogue doesn't have vents, and that seems more tailored for rearward passengers. But we do have vents in the back here, and we do have twin speakers and quite a large storage bin on each door, so you can get a big bottle in there plus some. So then I'm going to try and do this while seated in the vehicle. But all of these seats adjust electrically, so you have buttons at the boot space where you can adjust all these seats from the boot space, and you'll see as I do this, you'll see that this seat moves out of the way to accommodate this seat, and when you're using the back seats, these might move forward to accommodate those coming up. It's quite a complex system. It's not just a case of putting seats up and down. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here. Bear in mind that not all of these come with electric seats, so if they didn't come with electric seats, you would have to be doing this all manually, so you might have to slide this seat forward, to slide this seat back, to then pull this up, to put your headrest up. Not that it would be too much of an issue, but if you are shopping for one of these and you see this vehicle, don't expect them all to come with this spec, because they just simply don't. This is quite a well-spec'd vehicle. So we've got buttons just on the top of the seat here, and we just press that forward, and as you can see, this seat is now moving forward, and I'm probably going to run out of space here. Now once that's forward, we've got a lever just on the bottom of the seat here, and that's going to slide forward. That would now give you the access from that side door to get into the back. Obviously the same can happen with this seat, what I'm sat in right now, and because of the ride height of the vehicle, these seats in the rear have also got reasonable leg room. I tend to find with a lot of 7-seaters is that the seats are too close to the floor, so your legs don't have far enough to go down, so your knees are in your chest. But I'm going to get in the back here and we'll see how I look sat in this child seat in the back. So you can follow me into the back seats now. I'm definitely making that sound more difficult than it is. But as you can see back here now, in fact, I'll sit behind the other seat so you can see my leg room. So as you can see, my knees are touching this seat. However, it's not an uncomfortable position. I've definitely sat, look at them skinny legs, I've definitely sat in worse rear seats than this. These are probably the highest and most comfortable rear seats that I've sat in. You've got to remember, with a 7-seater vehicle, it's probably, for most people, it's probably going to be a rare thing that you're going to get these seats out. But on the occasion that you do get the rear seats out on this vehicle, it's not going to be like awkward. People aren't going to be fighting over not sitting in the rear. And it's definitely assisted by the fact that we've got windows back here and a sunroof. I mean, granted, that doesn't open, but it just makes it feel a little bit more roomy rather than you're sat in the boot of a car, which is in essence what we are doing, but they've done a good job of making it feel like that you're not. As far as utilities go in the rear, we do have a cup holder for each passenger that sits in the rear, because we can only have 2 people sat in the rear here, and there is ISOFIX on each seat. So if you are absolutely off your head and you have 5 children in ISOFIX, then yes, this vehicle will facilitate it. So then coming round to the rear of the vehicle, you can immediately see how big this vehicle is. This is higher. In fact, this is probably the same height as a Transporter. So this is quite a high vehicle. You can see that the bottom of the vehicle is also quite high to match with the height of the vehicle. Also, one thing you can immediately notice is how big this tailgate is. That is massive. Now you can see in this instance we're presented with some seats, but I'm going to show you just on the right hand side here, we've got our adjustments for the ride height, so we can drop the suspension right down so we can load stuff into the back, which is ideal for me getting my little pooch on there. We've also got a button to drop this little flap down at the back, which then presents us with a nice seat. We've got a nice little storage area underneath, which is where your detachable tow bar would go if you'd had one. And then the rest of the buttons we've got, which we can play with the seats. So I've just put all 3 of the front seats now down, or all 3 of the middle seats are now going down. And then once that's complete, I'm going to put these 2 seats here, they're going to go down as well, which is going to leave us with a massive loading area. I'd say that is more loading area than you would get in a small van. I'd say there's more footprint there than you would get in something like a Caddy or a Ford Transit Connect. So this is massive. And I've just driven quite a lot of, well, I've just driven 3 Range Rovers, pretty much back to back. And yes, this isn't a Range Rover, but it's part of the same family. And this feels very, very big. It kind of feels about a similar width to the Vogue, and probably a similar length as well. Be interesting to see those 2 compared. I'll probably put them up on the screen now so you can compare them. But the height, I don't know, it might even be the same height, but it feels very, very high. Certainly when you're stood at the back of this, opening that tailgate, once that tailgate comes out, if you're stood in the way of that, it's going to kill you. It's massive, it's huge. One thing about it though, although it is massive, it is a wide and long vehicle, the height certainly assists with you knowing where the vehicle is on the road. From this position where I'm sat now, I can see pretty much that corner over there and the opposite corner, so I know exactly where I am on the road. Probably as embarrassing as it may sound, I didn't really feel that comfortable in the Vogue. It was a big car and I was always like trying to drift off from the curb just to make sure I wasn't curbing it, but then when I checked my mirror, I was miles away from it and I was just being overly cautious. Whereas with this, I'm quite comfortable with the size of the vehicle and I feel like I know exactly where I am. So this one is quite a high spec one, as we've said. This one's a quick one as well, so it's got a lot of optional extras and it is a quick one, but I don't think any of them are slouches. They'll all go when you need them to. And one thing that is very, very surprising about this is this has got nearly 50,000 miles on the clock. But because of what materials they've used in the hardware and parts of this vehicle, such as the dashboard and certain bits in the back, they're not worn, they look new. You know, you wipe them down and they look brand new again. Whereas if that was made of leather, it would probably show its age a little bit more and it might look more like a 50,000 mile car, which right now it definitely doesn't. This, with a good clean this could be looking like a brand spanking new car. And if you put a private plate on this, 9 times out of 10 people wouldn't be able to tell you that it's not a brand new car. So as I said at the beginning of the video, I feel like this is still more, I wouldn't say more tailored towards agricultural, but it's definitely further towards that end of the spectrum in the current Range Rover, Land Rover range. But things are changing, and you go back some years and the Range Rover, as it was called, like just the Range Rover, was an agricultural vehicle. And now, realistically, no Range Rover is designed to be working. It's more just a big road car. And I feel like Discovery maybe were losing their way a tad with it, but driving this in such a spec that it is, tells me that it's still not lost its way. It still can be used as a work vehicle, and it's making that very, very tiny gap in terms of if you did want a work vehicle and you wanted a Land Rover Defender, but you also wanted to use it on a daily basis, then this is the choice for you. That being said, if you didn't want this for a work vehicle, it would make an absolutely fantastic family car as well. And I guess in many ways it's very comparable to the Audi Q7 what I reviewed some time ago. The fact that it's got 7 seats, quite a large vehicle, and they're very, very similarly priced. So that concludes my video, and surprise, surprise, little old Josh likes another Land Rover. And it seems to be a common theme recently, I'm driving only fantastic cars. I'd quite like to drive something to give another negative review like that Audi Q2, because when something is crap, I will tell you. But this is genuinely a nice car. It's fantastic. If you are an owner of this, and you do have any problems, then let me know down in the comments below. It can also help out people that are shopping for the vehicle. If you have any other Land Rover, Range Rover variants or anything that you'd like me to test drive, then you can also fire me a message on my social media platforms. If you like this vehicle or any other vehicle that you've seen on the forecourt or on my YouTube channel in general that has come from Hamworthy Car Centre, you can find them all over on their website. You can call them, you can even do viewings at the moment, and you can even do test drives. But that's me for now, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.